I wanted to check with you on a theme that you've been involved with, and that is going out to the wetlands and nature. And as I've talked, this has always been very inspiring for me to see you getting more and more familiar with just being out in the wild. And I think you're a wild character yourself as well. Seems like you took it to the next level during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, I've always enjoyed nature, and to have just yet another reason to spend more time in nature was a bit of a dream come true for me. There's a part of me that just loves exploring and just being out there and also being close enough with nature to understand what life is there. And I mean, not just see the landscape and see the trees, but to actually discover the wildlife there, to actually, come in relatively close contact with the animals that live there. And I love that. I absolutely love that. So I'm always out there. I bring a camera and I bring a drone. Yeah, it's to me, that's one of my favorite things to do. It's like a primal activation. We have our roots here on Earth, and before all this technology, before this busy way of life, it's closer to the way things used to be.
Nature can be quite profound, and I've myself been wanting to connect more and more, not as much as you. So I've always found that inspiring looking at your photos, and maybe in the show notes we can leave some of your handy photography work of the wetlands and some of your adventures. Is there any particular adventure that comes to your mind, one or two, that maybe you could describe? I remember you once talking to me and you told me that once you got chased by a wild boar,
Yeah.
and another time you had mentioned some kind of a wild cat or an encounter with a wild cat. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. Well, frequently where I live, right behind the house, I see bobcats, fortunate enough to have preserve space nearby, and they roam through the area. And so there's a lot of bobcats here. And so regularly I see bobcats, and there are panthers as well. Panthers are a little bit more elusive. Yeah, the wild boar, that situation was a little bit nerve-wracking because even if you're making noise as you're hiking, sometimes you can still sneak up on them. Sometimes they might be napping. They literally will fall asleep under a bush, and you could just walk right up to them. In this case, that's exactly what I did. And yeah, when you come face to face with a very large wild boar that's screaming, I don't know if you've ever heard a wild boar scream from 10 feet away before, but it's kind of a blood curdling sound in person.
It's a battle cry.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily it ran in one direction. I ran in the other direction. Yeah.
I guess it was as startled as you were.
Yeah. No, that's quite fortunate. Quite fortunate. Luckily, I've never had to have any encounters closer than that. But yeah, on the flip side, though, just the other night, I was fishing under the full moon, and I caught a rare species of shark, and it happened to be a relatively large one. It was, I don't know, maybe 40 pounds. Maybe it was almost between 3.5 or 4 feet. And the interesting thing about the encounters with the ocean is everything eats everything, and you never know what's going to take your bait. You just never, ever know. You never, ever know. It might be a small little fish. It might be a huge fish, or it might be a shark. And yeah, to me, it's the lottery of being out there. It's what's going to happen today? Who's going to show up? What character of the earth is going to appear today?
Wow. Not a lot of people can say to have hunted a shark and to face a wild boar and all these things in a rather short period of time. So I feel like you're quite the shark hunter now.
There, it's really fascinating. I don't think people like to understand how they're really everywhere. They're everywhere, and as the water temperature gets warmer, they're all spread out, and they literally are everywhere. The small ones are everywhere. The big ones come out more at night, but they're everywhere, and they're all around us, and it's pretty amazing. So, I mean, even just fishing for normal fish, you're going to catch a shark eventually if you fish a lot of saltwater. And yeah, and they happen to be among the most sporting catches out there. I mean, there's nothing quite as thrilling as hooking up with something as powerful as a shark. I mean, there's other fish out there too, like the tarpon is they call it the king, the silver king, and it's very, very powerful, very fast, and it's very aggressive, and it'll leap like 6 feet out of the water, and if you're not skilled, there's absolutely no chance of landing it. Sharks are actually a little bit easier than the tarpon, well, quite a bit easier, but they're very strong, and I don't know. It's just something very, very exhilarating to have such a powerful creature. And, once you hook up with one, really the best thing you can do, carefully remove that hook and set it free again. I think some people's intuition might be to just cut the line, but then you leave that hook in its mouth. And I mean, eventually it rusts out, but it's cleaner to actually bring that shark in and remove the hook and release it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Have a much closer encounter.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how to describe it unless you're out there and you witness it yourself. I mean, especially the bigger sharks, you just don't hook up with them during the day. They come out at night. And so to be out on the beach at night and catch something really powerful and really big, and it's just
Hey,
something really special. And to me, it's not just like my personal excitement, but to me, it's like something deep in our roots, our ancestry. The human brain is believed to have evolved starting very quickly when humans began fishing off the coast of Africa
hmm.
200,000 years ago. And the omega-3 fatty acids are what fueled that. And so to me, fishing is like, it's something built into the human experience, something fundamental.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely quite primal, and I don't have much experience with that. I also wanted to say that it seems like, since you used the word, getting together with these fish, maybe we need an app.
Oh, there are some fishing apps that's like Facebook for fishing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a couple of them. One of them's called Fish Brain. One of them's called Fish Angler. Yeah, they're gaining popularity.
Especially during the pandemic, because
Yeah, no, it's true. Especially down here in Florida, after the pandemic began, and Florida never restricted fishing. There was always one of the acceptable things to leave your house for. And so fishing gear was flying off the shelves. Like, you couldn't find a cast net anywhere in town. There was no boats left. Everyone bought all the used boats available. It was amazing what happened. And there's just been a lot of fishing activity around here.
yeah, that's a very interesting, perhaps, theme in itself, is with the pandemic of changes in different things that people have gotten into. Like, I was recently, for instance, hearing here in Joshua Tree, there have been a lot of people making these very unique Airbnbs, and people mostly coming from LA, a lot of the people with a lot of wealth making different things, and a lot of Airbnb like places as well, which the locals aren't happy about. But that is one of the many themes during the pandemic that perhaps was hard to predict before that. So it looks like nature sports and the outdoors have gotten really popular or
Yes.
revitalized with the pandemic, which definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and it's to be in nature is very healing. So it does make sense during a health crisis, a global health crisis, that people are spending time in nature.